there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Sylver 999 Fine Silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Sylver.
It's Marshall Sylver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
It's a glorious day filled with love, opportunity, and potential. I'm Marshall Sylver. You're on Marshall Sylver Live. Welcome. So glad to have you with me. It's a great day. I don't know if you saw our interview yesterday with Dan Henry. That was pretty amazing at Prosperity Palace. Back to Studio Money. On today's show, we've got Ruben Payan Jr. He hails from a small town called Buckeye, Arizona. He's the devoted father, a Marine Corps veteran, hoorah, author and champion coach. Ruben has transformed countless lives, guiding individuals toward achieving remarkable personal goals. In 2006, Ruben embarked on a divine calling to climb the 7 summits. This is impressive, of the world, honoring the powerful human spirit within us all. To fully commit to his vision, he tattooed the names of the mountains on his back, adding the summit dates upon completion. This bold act symbolized not only his unwavering dedication to the mission, but also his belief in a higher purpose. How cool is that? Tattooing the summits on your back and then the dates that you climbed them. After nearly a decade-long journey, Ruben reached the peak of the final mountain, blanketing the world under one banner of love. Today, as the founder of Powerful Human, Ruben continues to inspire the world through meaningful conversations and his own awe-inspiring experiences. His story extends far beyond summiting peaks. It is a global tribute to humanity's essence, acknowledging the universal values that define us all. Join Ruben today on this show for an extraordinary adventure and embrace the powerful human spirit within all of us. Please, a nice big Marshall Sylver Live welcome to Ruben Payan. Ruben, welcome to the show, man. Uh-oh. Ruben's not in the room. We're waiting for him. Did we lose our guest? There he is.
Yeah.
Hey, Sterling.
Hey.
Is our guest buffering?
His video is not working.
Okay. Thank you so much for jumping on. Producer Sterling Sylver, welcome. I'll chat for a bit while we're figuring out his audio video, so you can just let us go. Lesson of the day, deal with what emerges. That is life. You deal with whatever emerges. Sterling, I would suggest you ask our guests to exit out and come back in. That'd probably be the thing to make it work. What do you do when you are launching a new brand? You've heard me talk a lot lately about investing in notes, and You're going to watch behind the scenes the birth of a brand new brand. It's something I believe in. I talked a bit about it. For those of you that don't understand what mortgage-based notes are, it is basically the loan on the property. Not the property, it's the loan on the property. So it's what the bank holds. And if you've ever done the math, like I've done the math extensively, the money is in the money. And so if you are considering becoming a real estate investor, or if you're already a real estate investor looking to find some other elements to put in your portfolio, nothing better than notes. The risk is reduced, whereas a property goes up and down in value. A note stays consistent. It is what it is. The property is dependent upon the comps for that property. If properties around that particular property sell for less, the comp and the value of that property goes down. If they go up, then the property and that value goes up. But you're dependent upon the comps. The second thing is, what is the margin? What are the average amounts of profits made in note investing versus traditional real estate investing? And the margins in traditional real estate investing, at least for single family homes, is about 8 to 10% on average. Can be better, can be less, can be non-existent, can lose money for sure. But the average is about 8 to 12. The average on notes, even discounted, 30 to 40% on average. Could be better, could be substantially better. And then finally, the velocity, which is the last thing you need to think of. You need to think of three things. You need to think of risk or lack thereof. You need to think of margins or potential profits. And then the final thing you need to think of is velocity. How many times can I actually flip that money and create profits to then invest in more? Looks like we got our technical challenges worked out. Ruben Payan Jr., welcome to the show. Glad to have you with me. I don't know if you caught it. Your introduction was spectacular because you're spectacular.
Oh, I'm just so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Mark.
Amazing. You are just remarkable.
It's been quite
so talk to me. I mean, first of all, a tattoo is a commitment.
Oh, it's a commitment beyond commitments. And yeah, as we dive into this, it'll start unraveling itself. As I reflect back, Marshall, I don't know if I would do it again. The tattoo. Because
the tattoo.
Because I don't know, I didn't know how much it was going to cost me. It was
yeah, it costed you a bunch of long walks. That's what it cost you.
And a big financial commitment.
So tell me, which summits have you climbed? Which 7 summits?
Okay, so I climbed all the 7 summits. We have the North America, which is Mount Denali or Mount McKinley. Then we have Europe, which is Mount Elbrus. Of course, we have Asia, which is Mount Everest. We have South America, which is Mount Aconcagua. We have Antarctica, which is Mount Vincent. And then, we have Australia, but we have that Oceania area. So there's actually 2 7 summit lists. There's Karstens Pyramid, and then Kosciuszko. And let's see, did I miss any? I think that's it. South America, North America, Europe, Asia, Oceania. Anyone else I missed? I think that's it.
So what kind of a bug does someone get to, let alone climb one, let alone 7? What kind of a bug do you have to get to? Did you climb one first before you committed to all 7?
Well, it was interesting because when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was an 0331 machine gunner. We did a lot of hiking. We called it humping, like a camel. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was just done with it. I didn't want to be around mountains. I didn't want to be around hills. I didn't want to put a pack on. I was just done. And it was an interesting thing because I was a personal trainer there in Scottsdale, Arizona. And one of my clients came in and she's like, I want to get ready for Kilimanjaro. Well, okay. So I did a little bit of research. Okay, highest mountain in Africa. She wants to do her strength and conditioning for Kilimanjaro. I'm like, okay. So we started our journey. At the same time this was happening, I had started my own spiritual journey of just kind of discovering who I was. I was going through a divorce and I was just kind of going down the rabbit hole. Long story short, she invites me to go to Flagstaff, Arizona to climb. There's a mountain there that she wanted to do some training. And I said, okay, I'll in support of her, I'll go there and I'll do that 3-hour trek with her. Well, when I reached the top of that mountain, Marshall, something hit me. And I'm sure you've experienced in your life, it's a straight shot to your soul from the divine. And I got to the summit and I'm like, I need more of this. And maybe during that time, I just needed to feel some form of success, like I accomplished something considering where I was in my life. And we got down about 3 days later. I said, what do you think if I go to Kilimanjaro with you? And she's like, you're more than welcome. And so this was something that I said, you know what, maybe sometimes the things that you're afraid of the most, that you want to put on the shelf, are the things you need to go after. And so went to Kilimanjaro, loved it, came back, tattooed the rest of them on my back. Everybody thought I was crazy.
So you climbed Kilimanjaro first, then you got your tattoos.
Then I got the rest of them tattooed. Correct, sir.
So did you ever, during the course of the climbs, maybe on summit number 2 or 3, go, what the hell did I do?
Well, here's exactly what happened. Is at the same time I had one mountain on my back. I was planning to travel, and I wanted to go to Asia for a year to study at a Shaolin temple. Long story short, I fall in love with my 18-year girlfriend. We're getting married in a few months, which is a different story. How do you keep a girlfriend for 18 years? But we moved to China. I was in Beijing from 2007 till 2021. And so during this time,
Is your fiance Chinese?
no, sir. We were just dating a few months. I was already leaving to China. I asked her, hey, what do you think about coming to China with me? And she's like, all in. And so fresh couple, just starting to date, we moved to China together.
So why did you end up in China? I've been to China numerous times.
Right.
So why did you end up in China?
I originally left just to take a year off, to kind of reset my life. I had one mountain on my back, had the tattoo on my back, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take a little hiatus here to kind of reset. My first idea was like, you know what? I'm going to go gather some Eastern philosophy, come back home, and then integrate some of that teaching into my wellness business that I had in Scottsdale. Well, what happens in 2008? The financial crisis hits. We're already there in China. We're like, well, my business is destroyed. No one's spending money on coaching, personal training during that time in Arizona. And so we just decided to stay. And 1 year led to 2 years, led to almost 15 years, Marshall. Interesting story. While I was there, I set up a business. Through a few relationships that I established there, they started sending me these young up and coming UFC fighters. They hadn't been accepted to the UFC, but combat fighters. I started working with one fighter. 5 years later, she becomes the first UFC world champion for China. So I'm the head strength coach for Zhang Wei Li. All of that would not have happened if I didn't get on the plane and head over to China. It's really interesting when you look back at your life. You're like, I don't know, there's something bigger guiding us all.
The air in Beijing is horrid.
Terrible.
It's as bad as I've ever experienced.
It's terrible.
It's boggling to me about China, and I don't mean to go off track here. It's boggling to me how many people are in a small space. People don't realize China is actually smaller than the U.S. And when I came to that realization, when I was informed, it blew my mind, because I had this vision that China was so much bigger than it actually is. Back to what you've done. Near death. Had to have some near death experiences.
I absolutely did. It was on Mount Everest. I have an interesting speech that I give called "The Marine and the Sherpa," and it's about the story is that when I got about 20 minutes before the summit, I went blind, and 20 minutes before the summit, I'm sitting there with my Sherpa, and I said to him, "What do you want to do?" And he says, "Well, let's get to the top and figure it out." He takes me to the top. I'm sitting at the top of Mount Everest. I go back to this because I'm like, maybe God was playing a joke on me. I must be the only guy that gets to the top of Mount Everest and I can't see the view. So the summit picture that you see of me on top of Mount Everest, I have my goggles on, but I can't see anything. It's like a blurry, frosty mug. So yes, I did have a serious issue on the top of Mount Everest, and I'm grateful that I was able to make it back.
Which one was the toughest?
I think in terms of taxing you physically and mentally, for me, Denali was a challenge because it's so cold, and the winds can get up to 80 miles an hour. And so that they have something called flash freeze, is where any skin exposed, it's gone. Like it'll die immediately. Aside from Everest, because I was blind and I had to slowly make my way down, I think Denali is one of the most challenging ones that I would rather not go back and do. Yeah.
Which one's the hottest? Is it Kilimanjaro?
I think,
Warmest?
yeah, Kilimanjaro was the warmest. Or, even South America with Mount Aconcagua, that was a pretty warm one too.
Which was your favorite?
My favorite one was the last climb. I went back to Kilimanjaro and I climbed it for the second time. I wanted to close the loop. So 9 years later, to the exact hour, I went back with my family and took my son, my fiance, a few friends, and we summited Kilimanjaro for the second time. I almost like retracing your footsteps 9 years later. It was pretty spectacular.
Where, after you've climbed the summit, first and foremost, how much additional training? You come out of the Marines, which, by the way, thank you for your service.
Thank
You
you
come
very
out
much.
of the Marines. I'm guessing you're fairly fit. You start training to ascend these summits, and I don't think most people realize how much it takes to do what you've done. Again, you're climbing a mountain, but we're talking treks that are what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
I mean, some mountains when I climbed Everest, it was 42 days. I did climb K2, which wasn't part of the 7 summits, but I thought I'd throw it in there anyways. And, that was, a little over 2 months. So it does take a lot from you. This was something that I had to learn everything from the beginning. It was a big learning lesson for me, because a lot of things that I learned I call it my powerful human journey. Along my powerful human journey, I've been able to apply in different aspects of my life, and also teach my clients that I work with to kind of instill some of the same values and some of the same learnings that I obtain with my client.
And what personally has been the biggest challenge inside the midst of all this? Obviously, most of it's mental, as it always is. But what part of this has been the most challenging for you, being somebody that was already massively physically fit? Obviously, you're training fighters and people that are excellent. What's been the hardest part for you in this accomplishment? It's staying on track for all 7, not saying I'm done at 5, I've done enough. Let's get those last 2 tattoos removed.
Did
Did that ever occur to you, by the way?
It did occur just for a second, and then
Good. You're human.
I'll tell you the biggest challenge was, what I put my family through, because every time that you leave, you don't know if you're going to see them again. And, we're fathers. So imagine there's something that just calls you and you have to leave your family. I think for me, that was the biggest mountain that I needed to accomplish. Their support and love. None of this would have been possible without them. And, it's important. I call it the battery pack. It's important to have that strong battery pack that believes in you. But every time I had to say goodbye, Marshall, that was the challenge. It was mental, it was emotional, but I felt like this was my calling and this is what had to be done.
And so where from here? What does all this mean? Obviously, you've kicked butt. You've scaled the summits, lectures, training,
Yeah, so it's an interesting story.
Sherpa company.
Yeah, because I called it the powerful human journey, and what I did is I didn't want to just climb the summits for myself. I wanted to be in service and send a message. And so what I did is on the top of each of the summits, I carried a banner, and the banner says powerful human and one core value that we all share as people, as one world. And so kids dream commitment, patience, truth, love, gratitude, and humanity. And so I have a beautiful collage of the whole world and all the summits, and I have these values that I feel as powerful humans each one of us shares, regardless of what country we're from, what language we speak, and where we were raised. And so for me, that's kind of like my platform and what I teach. You know, the kids' mountain is really, in order to understand who you are, you have to understand where you came from. You have to understand your roots and your family and the things that impacted you in your childhood. So kids was the first mountain in Kilimanjaro that I climbed. And then it moves forward. You know, each one of those mountains really represents something special for all of us.
Do you know Warner Braun?
No, sir.
I just one of our another climber. I thought you might know the person.
Okay.
What are you? What do you think are the lessons that us mere mortals that haven't scaled 7 summits? What are the lessons that we can get from your action of scaling the summit? Surely there's a success formula there.
When everything's said and done, after my near-death experience on Everest, coming back, and gratitude, I think, you know, we talk about love a lot, and love's so powerful, but it's a different space being in a space of gratitude. When you're in a space of gratitude, it's kind of a calmness for me, which is different than being in a space of love. A space of gratitude really allows me things to flow naturally. So one of the first lessons that I try to teach is you have to be grateful every day. There's people in the world that are going through some hardships. And if you can change the way you see, maybe look through the world through other lenses and see it through other people's eyes, you can fall into the space of gratitude very easily. And then from there, start creating your journey and always using gratitude as a way to kind of recalibrate where you're at.
I've gone through a couple of periods of my life where I was massively healthy and then not so healthy, then had to get back to health. And the trick that I've used, like when I start running again, as an example, is I just set benchmarks. And so I'm running and I'll say, okay, run to the next flagpole. That's all you got to do. Just run to the next flagpole, then you can stop. And then see how you feel at the next flagpole. How much of that process of scaling Kilimanjaro or, Mount Everest, how much of it is one more step? I just got to do one more freaking step.
Every aspect of it, how you pay for it, that's a whole other mountain in itself. You know, the physical side of it, preparing for it. Like, do I really want to do a 9-hour day of training? Not 1 hour, 9 hours straight. And so there's a lot that has to go behind it, but you really have to ask, what is the why behind what you want to do? Okay, I want to get in shape. Why? Why do you want to get in shape? For me, I wanted to climb because I wanted to break a cycle. You know, my father wasn't around when I was a child, and I went through some really hard times, just emotionally and mentally. And I wanted to be able to use my life as a possible way to help other people and to be in service to other people. So, you know, with your, for example, your running goal, you know, what is the why behind why you want to get in shape? Well, you want to see your kids grow up. You want grandkids. You want to be there. And you don't want to be a burden for other people having to take care of you because you didn't take care of yourself. And you didn't take on the responsibility to wake up, eat right, and take care of your health. So there's a lot of things to unpack when you're asking yourself the why behind what you're doing and, you know, ultimately the impact of other people.
And I don't think most people understand that. Good question. My whole purpose of getting healthy again after my open heart surgery, my body just reacted oddly. And without a doubt, 100% of my decision to stop drinking alcohol, to focus on my health, was I want to know my grandkids, and I want my children, I want their kids to know me.
Absolutely.
And I've got young kids on top of that. So all the more reason. Warner Burger. That's the name I was searching for. He's a past inner circle student of ours. Also, he's climbed Everest 6 times.
Okay. Nice.
Werner Berger. You gotta chat with this guy. He's 86 years old and just amazing. Led all sorts of expeditions. I think the two of you would be good business partners, even associates. I think you'll like Werner a lot.
Perfect.
Where do you suppose? And what you said was really key, that most people don't realize. Work out for an hour, you get a result. Work out for 9 hours, you get a result nobody else gets. It's Kobe Bryant, after winning a championship, instead of going to the bar and celebrating, he went back to the gym, went back to the court and said, no, I got to work out for 2 more hours. And it's just that mental trigger that says, I want to be the first person that shows up. I want to be the last person that goes home, that makes people excellent. And I don't think most people realize life isn't easy by most people's standards. Life is hard by most people's standards, except achievers, that standard just is. It's not hard or easy. It's what's required. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's my thoughts after working with a lot of elite athletes and, with the climbs myself and just my Marine Corps background. It really comes down to how the level of commitment. Some people kind of think it's a good idea, and so they'll start it and then it fades away. Some people anchor themselves to, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. And like you talked about, that point B, I'm not freaking stopping till I get to my point B. And then from there, I'll figure it out. When you have that kind of mentality and your level of commitment becomes that tattoo, right? Inside you, it changes. You start, in my personal thoughts, you start bending the fabric of this world and the universe almost submits to you. The question is, what are you willing to give up for your goal? What are you willing to give up for that one thing that you want to experience to come to fruition? Will you give up your house? Will you give up your luxury clothing? Because the more you're willing to give up for it and maintain your value, your essence, and the virtues, your family, you keep the core together, the faster it'll come. And we talk about wealth and prosperity, and if you understand that without your health and your well-being and your mind and your spirituality, all of that other stuff means nothing. It's a mere shell and an illusion of something else. And when you have that, then you obtain it. Oh my God. Then you just want to be in service. You want other people to experience it.
I believe that. I without a doubt, I think that there's 4 levels of enlightenment. Step number 1 is to forgive everybody, especially ourselves, because not forgiving doesn't do any good. You are where you are, and if you're not forgiving, you're actually living in another moment. You're living in the moment of the offense. Second thing, for me at least, is that you've got to surrender and find your life perfect. You are where you are. If you're halfway up the summit, there you are. If you turn around, it's the same length trek back with no reward.
Got it. I love it.
And I got to believe that that's the motivation often on a hike, is if I turn back now, I get nothing. Absolutely nothing. All the work, even this portion of the hike, was all wasted. I've got to complete this thing. And step number 3 is utilization versus toleration. That when we start utilizing what comes up rather than tolerating what comes up, we say, what's a blessing here? Why is this a good thing? Somebody that was supposed to go on the hike with us at the last minute cancels. And we say, crap. But then we realize, no, I'm divinely protected. God's protecting me of some stupid thing that person was going to do on the hike.
I bless. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the final thing is, and this is where it ties in, I believe that once you start doing utilization on that level where nothing throws a loop at you, you say, no, I got to deal with this. Yeah, we need to adjust. The fit wasn't quite right that way. It's better this way. You'll have so much abundance. There's only one thing left to do. And that's where you are right now. And that's serving other people, taking care of other people, teaching other people. Because is this true for you? And I believe it is. Is the summit just a metaphor?
It is,
and if it is, what was the metaphor for you besides, being excellent?
It's so crazy because, they say the greatest journey is the 18 inches between your head and your heart. Like all of those mountains that I conquered were just for me to find who I was inside, for me to be able to look in the mirror and love what I see. Like all of those things that I've conquered and accomplished, like it's just to move there. It's just so you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, oh my God, you know what? I love you. Like I love you. All your flaws, all your greatness, how it's going to be today, how it's going to be tomorrow. I love everything about you. And it's really hard to get there because there's so much baggage that comes with it. There's so much pain that you have to overcome with childhood trauma and abusive relationships. And it's just nonstop. But once you get there, like that's that powerful human where nothing else, you're solid. There's nothing else that's going to change that. Now you're going to experience highs and lows and goods and bads, but it doesn't change what you discovered. And what you discovered is that you're special. God loves you. And there's that something inside you that no one can ever take away. I'll tell you an interesting story. I asked my grandfather one time, and my grandfather retired making $18 an hour, and how he fed 10 of us, I have no idea. But I asked him one time before he passed, I asked him, hey, Dad, can you tell me, how do you know?
So you have 9 siblings?
Well, I was raised by my grandparents.
Got it.
So my aunts and uncles are like my brothers and sisters.
And
But
so your grandfather had 10 kids.
yes. And also brought my sister and I into the house.
Wow. I have 11. I have 10 siblings.
Oh, so you understand. Oh, totally.
I do.
So I asked him, I said, Dad, can you tell me how you know you were successful? Now, mind you, my grandfather retired making $18 an hour construction for 30 years. And you know what he said to me? It chokes me up, but this is what he said. He says, I'll know I'm successful when everybody shows up to my funeral and I don't owe anybody a single dollar.
I like it. By the way, I love your energy, Ruben. I really do. You are clearly a good soul. A lot of people in your circumstance could be arrogant, knowing they've accomplished something that, how many people do you suppose have ever scaled all 7 summits?
Last I checked, it was less than 400 in the world.
400 people in the world. Out of 3+ billion people, less than 400 have done what you've done.
Yeah, I guess I don't think about it very often because the mission has just started. And for me right now, it's really aligning with like-minded people and mentors. And I'm in this space of I call it the sponge effect. I'm just absorbing, right? And just being a blank canvas, allowing kind of the universe to guide me through this thing. And what's the best way to deliver this message? Because it's just something that I feel so passionately about.
And so how old are you?
I'm 47. I'll be 47 in October, 46.
And you mentioned you have kids. How old are your kids?
Well, my son is 29.
Wow, dude.
I had him at a very young age.
There's the military for you.
There's the military for me. It was interesting because when Brandon's mom got pregnant, I was 16. And so everybody said, oh, your life is screwed. Like, what are you going to do? I didn't think about it like that. And I remember one day she asked me, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep the baby? And, do you want me to give him up for adoption? And I was like dumbfounded. I said, what do you mean? Like, I love you. Like, of course I want the baby. And I think at 16 years old, as I look back, it's the greatest decision I ever made. I just knew in my heart I had to have him. I just loved him. And it allowed me to break that cycle. My father wasn't around when I was younger. And I said, you know what? No, I'm just going to overwhelm this child with love through the goods and bads. You know how teenagers can be. And let that come through. And he'll always know that Dad loves him. And so I'm grateful to be a father. It's one of the greatest accomplishments I've ever had. So
you just gave me chills.
Oh,
no, I feel the same way about fatherhood. My wife is the best decision I ever made.
Right.
Fatherhood, I certainly we decided to have kids, but you can decide to have kids and not have kids.
Right.
Fatherhood is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Right.
And it changed me completely. It took a little bit of time, and it took time for me to soften and realize, what human beings need, and to be reminded our kids didn't ask to be here. We chose to have them be here. So we owe them everything. They owe us nothing. If they want to pay us back, if they want to assist us and help us, God bless. We must have done a decent job as a parent, especially if they do it out of a joy and not an obligation. But for me, yeah, parenting has taught me more about living than anything could. It's taught me massive patience. It's taught me incredible empathy. It's taught me how to be just, to pay attention if you have multiple kids, how to be just. And again, everything, and I'm guessing at this point, and maybe even before, all of my decisions are heavily weighed by the impact on them now.
100%.
And so here's a good question. What's your boy's name? Is he the third?
His name is Brandon.
Does Brandon climb?
Brandon doesn't climb, but I'll tell you an interesting story. He was going through a breakup right around the time I started getting ready for Kilimanjaro. And I told him when he was 15, I had mentioned to him, hey, maybe one of these climbs, you can come along. And he just so happened to be going through a breakup, and he was feeling pretty depressed. And I said, hey, he was in the US at the time. I said, how about you go to China and help train and get ready for Kilimanjaro? He had about 3 months. And I'll tell you what, that's exactly what he needed. A lot of times physical suffering is kind of a gateway to spiritual kind of enlightenment, right? So I think the mountain for him was just a way for him to leave it there. Just go through that hard suffering and come out the other side. You survived, you made it, and you don't have to be that depressed guy anymore. So the mountains is a natural healer, I call him.
Well, and maybe just physical output, right? That's
100%.
so much of what people have going on in their head. If they just go get a good workout in, and an endorphin rush, it'll probably cure them. I remember when I was 21 years old, I went through a bad breakup, and I was massively depressed. And my buddy picks me up. He says, we're going to go do something fun. And he picks me up in his pickup truck, and we go out into the middle of a canyon in the middle of nowhere, and he pulls out 2 shotguns. And we sit and we shoot skeet for the next 3 hours. I probably shot 500 plus rounds of 12 gauge shotgun blast against my shoulder. By the time I was done, I had a bruise the size of a pie tin on my shoulder because we shot so many. And he said, so how you doing with the girl? I said, what girl? I'm done. I manned back up. I did something manly. I did something that required some physical effort. And I'm reminded that the girl will pass. But I'm left with me no matter what, and me needs a better life right now. And I was done instantly. I was over the depression. And again, I just ponder how many people, if they just stopped, again, got out of their head and said, no, you weren't supposed to be with that girl or have that job or live in this life. That's why God came, swooped in, and radically changed everything. But that's perfection, isn't it? Because when you're on climbing up Kilimanjaro, you can't bitch and moan and go, oh my God, I can't believe I packed the wrong food. You say, no, this is the food I've got. There's no time for whining.
I agree. When I landed in Chile, they lost my luggage. So I was getting ready to climb the Antarctic, the South Pole. I didn't have any freaking gear. Fortunately, my fiance had said, hey, make sure you pack your boots and at least carry them on with you. So I got there, and I was just using anyone else's gear to make it happen, but I couldn't quit. You have to keep going, and sometimes I think life tests you. I always say right before it seems like it's not going to happen, I call it the shiny penny effect. You see something, like a fish sees a shiny lure, and you kind of opens up another door. Like, man, that almost didn't happen. But what do people mostly do? They stop. And they're like, oh, it can't happen. Or, oh, I can't afford it. Or something will come up, and then they don't do it. And then it becomes something that I thought I could do that, or I should have done that. And it just becomes something of the past. So I tell everybody that I come across, like, what is that one thing that's just been lingering in the back of your head that, damn it, I don't want to leave this planet until I experience it. Does that mean climb Mount Everest? No, it doesn't mean climb Mount Everest. But how about visit base camp? How about get as close to it as possible? Get on the plane makes a difference. Buying the tickets makes a difference. The action, they're telling the universe, yes, I'm going to do it. So I always tell everybody, pick that scary goal. You know, it might start with the easy ones, but pick the big ones. It might take a little bit of time, but so what? Keep going for it. And don't think you're by yourself. Start recruiting and recruit people that are going to be supporters. They're going to be honest with you, but they're going to be supporters. They're not going to hold you back. The ones that'll tell you, hey, I don't think you should do it, are the ones that'll never do it themselves. So I'm really passionate about goal setting, more as you can see, Marshall. I take it really personal.
Yeah, and I, as a hypnotist, am very specific about everything, and know how powerful language is. We don't use the word goal; we use the word plans. But what
Right.
you just described was a plan, and I would agree with you. So many times, people that want to start working out, they say, "Just can't get myself to work out." And according to your plan, you would tell them, "Just put on your workout clothes. Don't even think about working out. Just put your workout clothes on." Hey, let's not even think about working out, but let's get in the car and drive to the gym. We can sit in the parking lot. We don't even have to go in, but let's go sit in the parking lot. Because then they sit in the parking lot in their gym clothes and they go, "This is stupid. We should go inside." You go, "Yeah, let's go inside. Let's not even work out. Let's go check out chicks. Let's go inside." And then they're sitting on the bench and looking kind of pervy. And so you say, "You know what? You better do a rep or two or they're going to kick us out." And they do a rep or two and you go, "Isn't this great? You didn't even think you could do it. You're working out." Some is better than none is the point. Yeah, I would agree that the things that we want to do, like climbing, again, that's why climbing's such a great metaphor. Why I was so excited to have you as my guest is that it's one step. Yeah, get to base camp. Hey, hang the poster of Mount Everest on your wall then. Look at it every day. Fantasize that little dot there. That's you.
Exactly.
And that's what makes people do things. And I would agree with you so many times. People keep throwing their hands up until they get to my level, 60, 62. And we say, this is all you got. You don't get another life. What you don't get done in the next 10 years probably isn't happening in your lifetime. So get busy already.
Yep, I
And I
agree.
think that's what it is. How awesome your son that, you went the other route. You had a son extremely easy when you were young and dumb and didn't know how to raise kids. But you got through all of that. Now you got a son and now you get more time with him. I waited because I was way too dumb to have kids. And I waited till I was 49 before my first child came. And I know I'm a better father for it. So it's a trade-off no matter what you do. Not just with kids, but with everything. It's a trade-off. Yeah, you didn't die because you didn't climb Mount Everest, but did you live?
And I told my son was 12 years old when I moved to China. And I remember the night before I was leaving, I get a little emotional about it. But
You can cry. It's good for my ratings. Please cry.
I remember I went to go visit him at his mom's house, and we were sitting on the curb. How do you explain to a 12-year-old, like, this is what you have to do? And so I said, the only way that I can tell you to conquer your dreams is if I do it myself. And maybe you won't understand now, but you'll understand when you get older. You have to live it. Don't just tell your kids to go follow your dreams and play big, and you sit on the couch getting fat.
Yeah. Agreed.
Be honest. Go out
Without
there.
a doubt.
100%.
Yeah. And that's powerful, in all things, not just in climbing, the 7 summits, not just in business, in all things. Be honest, be real, be transparent, and especially for the people around you. I love my children more than I've ever loved anyone in my life. I love my bride, but I love my children in a very unique way, as I know you know. And for me, there are all sorts of changes that I've made 100% because of them that I wouldn't have made otherwise. There are things that I've done. There are things that I'm doing now today in big ways that are 100% for them. And so again, I think that's the question, isn't it? Your legacy is out of 400 people that have scaled all the summits, my guess, you're maybe one or two other people max made put the tattoo on themselves before they started climbing and said, no, it's done. We're done. This journey is done. I'm not stopping till it's done. When did you get your final tattoo? When did you do your last ascension?
Well, I did the tattoos first, and then I put the summit date underneath.
Yep.
And I finished in 2015. I finished the last climb.
What was the last climb?
I went back to climb Kilimanjaro for the second time.
After you'd gotten the tattoo done.
Yeah, the powerful
Dude, you are a committed mofo. You are, that's for sure. Anybody else would have just said, I already climbed this one. I don't have to do this one again.
Comes down to conviction. How committed are you? The tattoo is just an external expression of something that I felt inside my soul. And I didn't know how Marshall, I had no idea how it was going to get done. I'll tell you another interesting story, and I have the picture to prove it. There was a point in my 15-year experience, I had $42 in my bank account with like six with like 6 mountains to climb. And I told my fiance,
you might have had $14 in your bank account, but you had $6,000 in your backpack.
Yeah, I had more gear than I had in my bank account.
Exactly.
But I took a picture of the screen and I said, this is not going to hold us back. Actually, this is going to motivate us, because there's going to be a time where we're going to look back and we're going to laugh. Let's see how this movie unravels. Boom, boom, boom. Now you can be depressed. You can fall down a deep rabbit hole. You can start taking medication. You want to numb it. You want to numb it. You want to numb it. And the number never changes. Or you can say, you know what? Let's look at this. Let's see how we're going to keep moving forward. We're not going to stop and let this thing unravel itself. And so be it. It changed. The numbers went up and we finished the climbs.
Without a doubt. And again, that's exciting. What's your scariest moment while you were climbing? What was the moment that things went most wrong and you were certain you were dead?
Well, it was definitely the Mount Everest trip, because I remember thinking to myself, I'm sitting on the top of Mount Everest and I'm here with my Sherpa, and my Sherpa's contemplating on whether it's to stay or not. Now, he didn't have to bring me down. He could have stayed and kept me there and just kind of put me on the side and left. He made the choice to help bring me down and risk, because he had to tie into me, and risk bringing me down and me falling and taking him down, or taking us both down. It wasn't until a few years later I asked him, I said, Lockwood, tell me the truth. I want to know why you helped me. You know what he said? Karma. He's like, I'm not coming back to redo this again. So I knew that I had to do the right thing, regardless of who was watching. God's watching me, and I at least had to try. And so it was such a powerful thing when he told me. I said, he said, karma. I'm like, you don't have to explain anything else. I get it. Oh. So it was quite
and that is such a good standard to live by. I certainly live by that too. I say it a little differently. I say, be the same in the dark as you are in the light. Be who you are, to the point where if it's exposed, that you say, yeah, that's the truth. Not my proudest moment, yet it's a fact. And yeah, I own that. Yeah. And I think that so few people are willing to do that. I mean, obviously we're in the middle of an election year where politics is 100% about doing the opposite thing, doing whatever you can get away with. And again, I like surrounding myself with people that have ethics. I like surrounding myself with people that do the right thing. I've got a guy working with us now that I brought on to do marketing for us, that the first 3 times he did anything for me, refused to take any money. I'll just do this for you. And I said, well, that's certainly a testament to your character. That's who you are. And that's just so rare. What was which of the summits is easiest? If I say at 62 years old, I want to scale one, which one should I scale?
I definitely think Kilimanjaro is the best. To just get one underneath your belt, because you can take the kids when they're a little older. People in their 80s have climbed it. They have a slower route, which takes 7 days. But by all means, I highly recommend you go, and then you do, the safari and stay in the Serengeti and really see those animals in their real habitat. It's spectacular. So Kilimanjaro, 100%. Let me know. I'll get you ready.
And you say it's about a 7-day hike.
Yeah, they have one of the programs that's about 7 days. It takes you up a little slower, so you acclimatize a little easier. 100% recommend it.
Well, I may take you up on that.
I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
I got this funny tickle going on inside of me that I just want to do some things that weren't required.
You know what? I was going to ask you a question based on your own experience, and we just kind of touched on it a little bit. Do you think it really comes down to how much work a person's done on themselves, or how much you've uncovered within yourself to get to a point and say, you know what, I don't want to be anyone else but me? Like, based on your experience, do you think that it takes people having to do that kind of inner work, to get to a point that I'm not going to pretend to be someone else that I'm not? What's your thoughts on that?
That's a big question, and I love it. The reason that's such a big question right now is I think the exact opposite is being taught in traditional school. I think that there's an intentional gambit strategy to make people as confused as possible so they become dependent. So you've got kids wondering what gender they are, let alone life's purpose. And my God, how horrible is that? That's abuse. And any school that allows this gender morphia is committing child abuse. They are. And we homeschool our kids because I don't want them anywhere near that nonsense.
Right.
And so a more direct answer is, yeah, I think the biggest challenge we've got going on with people right now is they're not happy in their own skin. They haven't, you got a beautiful head of hair. My head doesn't do the same thing, but I do other things really well. And
Right.
I think that it all comes down to a base of self-esteem, that self-esteem is not taught enough. What is self-esteem? Belief in self. If I believe in myself, you can insult me all you want to. I can get attacked as much as anybody can attack me. And I just go, okay, so what? Now what? Yeah, sure, you're attacking me. Yes, you're being unfair. You're making up lies. Oh, yeah, everybody believes your lie about me. Trump is a good example of this. You got a guy that's been attacked incessantly from the moment he came down the elevator and said, I'm throwing my hat in the ring for the presidency. And again, I know Trump personally, so I have an opinion of him that most people cannot have. You can talk about climbing mountains all you like, but until you've climbed, one of the summits, you don't know. You can say you know, and you can believe you know, and you can compare your accomplishments to that, but you can't. You've never done it.
Exactly.
Same thing with people that don't know Trump, that are acting like they know him based on what the media says. You don't know him. I don't even know him. And I've been backstage with him 30 times when there was nobody else there, when he didn't have to pretend anything in front of me. And so what I believe is that if you're going to do anything great, number one, guaranteed you're going to get attacked. I don't care who you are. I don't care how big your accomplishments are. I don't care how well-intentioned you are. You're going to get attacked by people that don't like you because you're kind. Yeah. Because you're a good person, they don't like you. And they're so evil that you just reflect their evil back in a bigger way. So that's the thing that I believe is that people get in their head, and the strategy that I use, get out of your head, get into other people's lives. And it comes full circle, Ruben, to what you were talking about, service to other people. Ultimately, I think that's all we're here to do, is to serve others. Now, I'm a selfish mofo myself. I want to serve you, and I want your credit card to clear. I do. I want there to be compensation, not just for me. I know your level of commitment is substantially better if you have something at stake. And what's the easiest thing to have at stake? Money.
Right.
Too many times, and that's just a low-level commitment, by the way, as you know. It's not just coming up with the money to do, your climbs. Then after you got the money, that's hard enough, but then coming up with the willpower and the discipline and the training that goes into everything you got to do before you put one foot on the mountain. I think that most people don't get out of their heads. I think they're just in their head. And again, this is your life. I was thinking about this. I was thinking about what makes people commit suicide. And suicide is a very selfish act. People commit suicide, in my opinion, because I've been suicidal a couple times. I think people commit suicide just to get some kind of sense of control of their lives, that their lives out of control, and they can make one choice nobody can stop them from making, so that's the choice they make. Unfortunately, it's one of the choices that you make you can't go back from. Like having a baby. You can stop being a parent, but you can't go back from the decision to have a baby. And some people, I didn't decide to have a baby. You put your part in a part. You did decide. And so the other thing that I really believe is that everything's hypnosis. Everything's in our head. And when you can figure out how to control what's in your head, man, you own your life. You own everything.
That's an interesting point that you bring that up, because I just started working with some military veterans, and we started a program, it's grassroots, and really to help veterans they don't want to leave the house. They're depressed, they're afraid, and they just need help. So one of the programs, it's a Powerful Human First Step program, is we're just going to get you moving at home. And what this turned into, you bring an interesting point. Having control over taking their life gives them control over something. It's really a spectacular way to look at it. And my job is I just want you to want to see me next week. As your coach, as your expedition guide, I want you to want to see me next week, because I want to see you. And maybe I'm the only person in your life that you want to see, but let's make that commitment. I'll see you next week, right, Marshall? And if I can get that verbal commitment, that one-on-one, I can start that first level of trust, and maybe that can expand within their life. So I'm working with veterans now, just in being in service and helping and loving and sharing my gift. And so I'm just grateful to be here sharing with you, Marshall, and we could talk for hours. We could probably talk for hours.
No, I love it. I appreciate you being on the show. I've got two other guests that we've had on the show in the past, three actually. Fraser Bailey, do you know that name at all?
No, sir.
So you need to write that name down. And I know because he's watching right now. He's both a student and a close friend of mine. He and his wife, Jordan and Amanda Solomon. Okay. And they have a brand called Superhuman.
Uh-huh.
You guys should definitely connect. You're on the same path. And there's little doubt in my mind that Jordan right now, who I know is watching because he made a comment a moment ago, he and Amanda are talking to each other right now about climbing the 7 summits, or at least Kilimanjaro. Guaranteed they are, because that's their nature. They're just people of excellence. In the past year, she's taken off 50 pounds of fat. He's taken over 65 pounds of fat. They are on an absolute focused mission of accomplishing all that they can accomplish. The piece that I know that they're now doing is also the piece that I know you want and you need if you don't already have it. And that's an understanding of the money side of this whole process is, I've got great skills. I've got a phenomenal story. I've got excellent results. Now, how do I monetize this? And the challenge for people like yourself that are physically excellent is you've got to transform your soft topic of physical excellence into a quantifiable hard topic that people can do the math for. I'm thinking I want to climb Kilimanjaro and would love to do it with my family. I mean, if that's a possibility, we walk and we hike. I had to have both of my knees treated about a month and a half ago because I tore both of my meniscuses. And there's a part of me that wants to have one final physical, massive challenge that I accomplish before I can say, all right, knees, you survived. You did your job. We got this done. So I'm sincere. And this is a personal question. On a budget level, what should I budget for the climb up Kilimanjaro?
Oh, actually, the climb itself is not expensive. You can budget $5,000 for the climb, add another couple thousand of gear. But it's really the after, where you want to take your family. Do you want to stay in the Serengeti? $10,000 would be more than enough. So
Very
it's not
cool, man.
Not too expensive at all. And I just highly recommend it. It changes your life.
Well, you got me percolating, brother. So we're gonna have more conversations for sure. By the way, I can always tell when it's a good interview when time just flies by, and I look up at the clock and I go, "Holy crap, we've been on for an hour."
I'm kind of sad. Like I got so many questions and so many.
You'll be back. Yeah, you'll be back. In fact, I'd like to give you a gift. I'd like to give you 2 tickets. Where are you located now?
I'm here in Wenatchee, Washington, sir.
Lovely. So you have 2 tickets. You and the wife to be, or if she's your wife at this point, but wife to be is what it sounded like. You and the wife to be come join me at Turning Point next month in Las Vegas. Come hang out. I know you got a lot of questions about the mind side of things, and I got a lot of questions about just the discipline side of things, which is obviously what you're a master of. Turning Point's $3,000 a piece, 2 tickets, $6,000. My gift to you. All you got to do, call my office at 1-800-92-POWER. And Ruben, they'll get you guys registered. I'd love to meet you in person. In fact, when I meet you in person, I have also another gift of 10 ounces of Marshall Sylver, finely minted silver. So I'm going to give you a 10-ounce silver bar of Marshall silver, and those 2 tickets. So please come join us.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Before we wrap up, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, people can get a hold of me directly at ruben@powerfulhuman.com, or go to powerfulhuman.com, and I have something called intention candles. The little candles, the little powerful human candles, each one of them has a little intention. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to offer all of your guests for the month of July 50% off. So all you have to do, I'll put in a promotional code, Marshall, and anybody that buys a candle for the month of July, I'll give them 50% off. And I just want to spread love throughout the world here, Marshall.
I love it. In fact, because you're so generous, I'm going to give you 6 tickets. So I'd like you and your exceptional lady to come, but I'd also like you to bring some of your students to come hang out, and we'll make a celebration of it.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
You're awesome, brother.
I appreciate it. God bless.
God bless, brother. I look forward to meeting you in person next month. Take care. Hey, if you are watching this show and you want to know more about what Turning Point is, I want you to watch a quick little video. And if you're amongst the first 3 people who also call 1-800-92-POWER, I'll also give you 2 tickets to Turning Point. This is Turning Point. Check it out.
Turning Point. A total change in direction for the better.
Who here is ready for a turning point? You absolutely have to have one. Put them high.
The 2-day Turning Point seminar is different than any other program in that it does more than just teach you the skills for your relationships, wealth, and power. It also programs you on a subconscious level to put those skills into immediate use.
This weekend is about empowerment. This weekend is about you understanding how to take charge of your own life.
You will learn total control of your thoughts and emotions. How to use PND, or psychoneural duplication, to take on the thoughts and actions of others to produce similar results. Whether it's losing weight, changing habits, being a millionaire.
When you think what a millionaire thinks and you do what a millionaire does, you'll produce similar results.
You will learn to program these powerful tools at a subconscious level for immediate and lasting results.
Your conscious mind is what's called your critical factor. It's the mind you're using right now to determine whether the information I'm giving to you will work for you or not. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is merely a computer. It's non-critical. It doesn't even have the ability to make judgment. So all trance, hypnosis, reprogramming is setting aside the critical factor of your conscious mind and non-critically accepting suggestions.
And empowering.
To make a fear vanish, you must experience it fully.
As it helps you create your life exactly the way you want it. Bring your family closer. Find the love of your life. Create strategies for wealth. Learn irresistible influence, and so much more. Because of the intimate nature of this course, seats are very limited. Register now before your life passes you by and there are no more turning points for you. Tens of thousands of people have learned this information and are using it daily.
You don't get angry if you get fired from your job and you know that within 2 years you will be a multi-millionaire.
It's your time.
There's a way for you to win this game that is different than how you're doing it, and it works.
It's your life.
When you learn how to do that, you become more powerful, and power is for use.
It's your turning point.
What an excellent show we've had. Thanks to our guest. I look forward to seeing you at Turning Point. Until we chat, we'll see you tomorrow. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.